Monique Angela Hicks, née Imes, born December 11, 1967, known professionally as Monique, is an American stand-up comedian and actress. She has received various accolades, including an Academy Award, BAFTA Award, Golden Globe Award, and Screen Actors Guild Award, as well as nominations for a Primetime Emmy Award and a Grammy Award. Monique first gained recognition for her work in stand-up comedy, debuting as a member of the Queens of Comedy. In 2002, she received a Grammy Award nomination for Best Comedy Album. She began her transition into mainstream film and television, having a starring role as Nicole Nikki Parker in the UPN series The Parkers 1999 to 2004, as well as appearing in Fat Girls 2006 and Welcome Home Roscoe Jenkins 2008. In 2009, Monique garnered critical acclaim for her performance in the film Precious, for which she won numerous awards, including the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, becoming the fourth African-American woman to win the award. She has since hosted The Monique Show 2009 to 2011 and starred as Ma Rainey in the HBO biopic Bessie 2015, earning a Primetime Emmy Award nomination. The highly anticipated My Name is Monique Netflix special is terrible. By way of bad. -+2. Terrible. A vulgar therapy session devoid of the insightful humor that results from projectile vomiting your suffering. A pointless rant presented as comedy. The serious social concerns of wage fairness, colorism, fatphobia, and Jim Crow Hollywood predict a comedic spectacular. And it wasn't in any way an endorsement of her demonstrations. Secondly, understand that entertainers, comedians, and others who act on stage don't care whether they get booed or applauded. Veterans are aware that neither reaction can be relied upon to inform them as to the quality of their art. Haters boo anything, while stans embrace anything. It is expected in the situation. Instead of coming from an outside source, each of their creative spirits is where they get their terror from. Every performer, especially comedians, thinks that if they don't have anything to say, they won't be on that stage, regardless of how many cars, mansions, or money they own. They should also be terrified. All artists, including comedians, depend on their ability to perceive the world. As viewers, we anticipate that they will employ their own alchemy of the odd and outrageous to produce a finished presentation that is humorous and chock full of unexpected subtext. It's enjoyable, hard to accomplish, and their inner voice is their most potent weapon. So what happens if finding that voice is difficult? As predictable as seeing the sun rise over the horizon each morning, all artists, even your favorite ones, gradually deteriorate down a narrative arc this sad in its execution. This brings up something that is evident in the field of Black comedy, but that Black people don't want to acknowledge. The Black Gen X comic period is over because these Black Gen X comedians are all out of things to say. Because of the 30 years of excellent Black comedy that have led us to this position, it is depressing to see. Hip-hop was transitioning from a specialized musical genre to a global sensation when the Black Gen X comedy movement emerged in the 1990s, during the presidency of Bill Clinton. Black Gen X comedians did a fantastic job of capturing hip-hop and the attitude of the generation. Black Gen Xers, the offspring of the movements of the 1960s and 1970s, benefited from a brand new, wide-open society that brought challenges and issues. The typical De La Soul joint encompasses integrated schools, bissing, segregated schools, Reaganomics, the AIDS crisis, the crack epidemic, affirmative action, the suburbs, pop culture, Black music, and white music. It encapsulates Black Gen X. Also, they came from parents that listened to comic CDs by Red Fox, Slappy White, Franklin Ajay, and Richard Pryor, as well as any goofy material by Bob Newhart that was accidentally on the shelf. It was the actual golden age of Black humor and hip-hop, making it the ideal moment for budding Black Gen X comedians to tap into that rich culture, which they duly did. HBO served as the precursor of Black Twitter, and Def Comedy Jam served as our cathedral of collective comic worship. The culmination of all the nationwide Neo-Chitlin Circuit Chocolate Day that ends any comedy performances was a performance where we could be heard and seen in our uncompromising manner. We refer to Rock, Chappelle, Mac, Harvey, Monique, and Wayans by just one name because their observational humor was so pervasive in our daily lives. We recall their enduring performances from Def or from their appearances on shows that followed. They managed to access the Black Zeitgeist. The comedy was beyond the obvious, don't you hate it when white people do phony white people accent post-prior nonsense, and instead was all up in the epidermis of our Black hip-hop experience, which is why it smacked without explanations. They recognized us. Think about 30 years from now. What's different now? Well, a lot. Many Black Gen X comedians strive to reclaim that aspect of contemporary Blackness that gave them credibility in the past. Do your wealth and celebrity, which come with tinted windows and a security team, shield you from the humanity that struggling up-and-coming comedians see? Or perhaps your ego tricks you into thinking you're being profound when you're not. Or perhaps as individuals age, they get, out of touch. The future? The ore of their original insights has been mined by Black Gen X comedians, that much is certain. No matter how many times they shout, "I don't give a damn because I'm rich" on stage, keep in mind that they actually do. And even if they might not give a hoot or a cheer, their motivation still comes from fame. A creative death they are desperately trying to avert is represented by abandoning that stage. Yet the trip goes on, and Black Gen X comedians are nearing the conclusion of the second act and the precipice they are frantically trying to escape. They raise their hand and shout at the social clouds above them in their anguish because they are out of ideas. Delete culture. Selective indignation PC ethos. Comedy is no more. Black Gen X comedians criticize a culture that has the audacity to change with sloppy observation and gilded punchlines. It's the fading era's last breath. Once more, that desperation ought to generate a unique set of fresh observations. Yet a common obstacle faced by Black Gen X comedians is their lack of skill and brains. Instead, they recycle lazy cliches like sexism, homophobia, and misogynoir. Such cliches were there in the 1990s for sure, and were ridiculed by a less educated audience than one in 2023. So the last retreat leaned on conceit or the stand's loyalty. When criticized, each will counter with the claim that their heroes are geniuses or goats, expressing so-called truths that are little more than shitcakes with chocolate frosting. No. The Black Gen X comedy generation is in its elder care phase, and like a one-legged Willie Mays getting ready for his final at-bat, or a Michael Jordan in a Wizards uniform, we'll watch our comedic heroes pass away slowly on the biggest stages as each joke requires them to laugh at their own jokes first in an effort to get their audience to laugh along with them. Yet Black Gen X humor's demise is not the end of Black comedy, not at all. As everything else, Black humor will evolve with a new generation and fresh perspectives. Also, they'll be savvy enough to create humor that speaks to today's culture without turning to the low-hanging fruit that many Black Gen X comedians are now picking from, which is rotting. Thanks for watching my video.